Okay, so this video is going to feature my recent visit at the Ion Power Group's research and test facility. So Ion Power Group saw one of my videos on YouTube with my Atmo motor, and they contacted me and we got to writing back and forth about atmospheric electricity on the Atmo motor. And I found out that they had carried on the research of Dr. Oleg Jefimenko. They corresponded with him before he passed away, and then they carried on with this research here. And you can see their ion collector towers. They've got these 4 poles here. They're at about 130 feet in height. Strung between those 4 poles, they have a wire, so it forms a large square if you were looking down on it. And connected all along that wire are what they call ion collectors. And we'll get into that in more detail in a minute. Okay, so Ion Power Group has been testing this technology here at this test site for about the last 10 years. And they've really been flying under the radar because, I really keep my ear to the ground and try to connect with and understand, what's going on with this type of technology because it's something I'm interested in experimenting with myself. I never heard of these guys until they contacted me and wanted to test the Atmo motor with their setup. So I was very, very impressed with the amount of progression and progress they've made with this technology over the last 10 years. It's what's most interesting to me, and this is usually what I experiment with. This is where you've got an aerial to the sky and the ground, and you're actually showing the energy generated between those 2 points. And you see that here in the spark gap. This is what they call an active ion day. This is when the atmosphere has more atmospheric electricity in it, because it does vary quite a bit. In my own research, I've gone out, and sometimes on a clear day I'll get more than I'll get on a cloudy day. It varies. There's kind of a baseline that you can always count on, but then it can go way up from there, just depending on the atmosphere and what's going on in the atmosphere. So they had some of these clips from previous active ion days. The day I was there visiting with my family and kids, it was a fairly mild day, and as you saw in the capacitor bank, it was up at around, I think it was basically 9,000 volts. So now it had charged up to that point. But anyway, you get an idea.
The white wire coming from the ceiling is connected outside to our patented ion collectors and feeds high voltage electricity harvested from ions in the air to these fluorescent bulbs.
I'm going to show you how to assemble a very powerful Wi-Fi gun. And its signal covers hundreds of kilometers. However, the whole construction is light and easy to make.
Rosebud, the Texas Avenue, her eyes are bright as diamonds.
Hi gang, listening to my portable crystal radio. That's right, crystal radio. All the power comes from the radio waves. Notice there's no ground connection, and the antenna's in here. As you can see, there's not a lot to it. Here's the crystal earpiece for listening to. Here's the adjustable capacitor for tuning in a radio station. I open it up. Here's a diode. And this is the coil that the capacitor resonates with. But the trick is that this coil also acts as the antenna. This type of antenna is called a loop antenna, for reasons you can call a crystal earpiece. I'm using one I made myself by hot gluing a hollow tube to the opening of a piezoelectric buzzer. Connect the wires of the earphone to the wires you just ran out of the top of the box in the previous steps.
In this video, I will be exploring magnetic braking and levitation utilizing the inductance of large copper plates. Copper is not magnetic, so they don't exactly attract each other, but at the same time this magnet doesn't seem to want to slip off very quickly. It drags across the plate slowly, like it's moving through a thick fluid. It's even more interesting if I drop the magnet on the plate. It slows down mid-air and gently floats to the surface. So if the copper is not magnetic, something else must be causing this. And many of you probably already know the answer has to do with electricity. When a magnetic field moves through copper and many other metals, it causes electrons to reorganize themselves and flow in a circular pattern perpendicular to the oncoming magnetic field. Of course, the electrons were perfectly happy being where they were before the magnet tried moving them around. And so they resist this movement by generating a temporary magnetic field of their own. There's no attraction or repulsion, just resistance to change. One way that we can prove this resistance is due to the flow of electricity is by replacing the copper plates with a copper coil. This coil of wire is not connected at the ends, and so it does not form a complete electrical circuit. If we tried to make electrons flow around this coil, they would have nowhere to go, and we can tell this is the case because when I drop a magnet through the center, there is no resistance. It falls through the coil as if it were not even there, no slowing down at all. If the resistance to movement we saw with the copper plate was an inherent property of copper, nothing to do with electricity, the magnet should still slow down, even with a disconnected circuit. When I do connect the two ends of the copper wire, now the magnet pauses as soon as it reaches the coil, and it takes a moment to make it all the way through. Electrons can now make a complete orbit around the coil in response to the oncoming magnetic field, and so the magnet slows down as its momentum is converted into electrical current. If I once again disconnect the coil and bridge the circuit with an LED, we can see a better indication of the electricity. The LED is very efficient, so powering it doesn't slow down the magnet quite as much as when the circuit was closed directly. This is a simplified model of how the majority of the world's electricity is generated.
This is a crystal of sugar. If you press on it, it'll actually generate its own electricity. How can this simple crystal act like a tiny power source? Because sugar is piezoelectric. Piezoelectric materials turn mechanical stress, like pressure, sound waves, and other vibrations into electricity, and vice versa. They discovered that if they compressed thin slices of certain crystals, positive and negative charges would appear on opposite faces. This difference in charge, or voltage, meant that the compressed crystal could drive current through a circuit like a battery. And it worked the other way around too. Running electricity through these crystals made them change shape. Both of these results, turning mechanical energy into electrical, and electrical energy into mechanical were remarkable.
Банку 5-литровку, обмотанную медной полосой. К этой медной полосе у меня идет кабель одножильный. Идет кабель. Вот идет и подходит вот сюда. Здесь высоковольтные диоды ХВМ 15. Это и параллельно. Так, через лампочку подключили. Так, и идет на высоковольтную обмотку трансформатора. И дальше идет, значит, будем снимать электричество у нас вот с этой. Вот смотрим, как ведет себя светодиод. Светодиод просто сходит с ума. Могли бы что-нибудь другое, конечно, поставить. Просто кроме светодиода больше ничего не осталось. Все остальное сгорело. Лампочка, он еще осталась на 25 ватт.